All right, we're here with Counterculture Episode 2. Time to get a bit more specific. I have Buckethead again with me. How's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you, bro?
Doing pretty good. On the eve of the Cato playoffs, I wanted to take this time to talk to you very briefly or extendedly about just what it means to be a caster because at this point in your career, when this video goes live, it will be publicly announced that you have officially signed a contract, which would you like to expand on that at all as much as you're capable? Obviously, this won't come out until.
Yeah. I'm now a member of LCA Broadcasting, which if you don't know, it's basically a group that gets contracted work from teams throughout the ACA seasons, or sometimes working some of the tier two tournaments in NA to get casters and production and broadcasting out for the teams. And it's really cool to be there. It's a very good. I would consider that a first step, maybe a second step, but it's really good to have some sort of backing to what I've been trying to do. You know?
Yeah, that I think a lot of people would agree with you in being a great first or second step. There's a lot of names there that people would recognize, and just being a financially contracted caster is a huge deal in and of itself.
Yeah.
And so that's, I guess, the first thing I want to, or at least paint the picture of over the course of this, is how we got from, you've told me before you've been doing this for about a year and a half. That's correct?
Yeah, give or take.
Give or take. And so you were able to, in a year and a half, go from zero to contracted caster. And by the time that a lot of people get to points in their careers where they're doing sort of reflective interviews, a lot of this is so far in the past that a lot of the finer details get lost. And I think that's our unique opportunity that we have to discuss here. So I want you to start off with me, what was, you woke up one day, did you just see some sort of game, some cast, something that you're like, I love this idea. I want to do this. I want to make my mark on this. What drove you to take action to cast?
So the actual answer, usually when I tell people, they think it's pretty funny because my big inspiration and like reason why I got into it was Sponge.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be my favorite player back when he was playing for Vox Eminar and
Mm-hmm.
Renegades. Even though not considered one of the greatest technical players, he was just a very big personality, and he was always like super cool to watch. And then when he transitioned out of playing and started working on the analyst desk, and then after that to the casting position, it's something about it. Like I felt a lot of inspiration from him, and it's casting is a part of Counter Strike that I feel goes unappreciated a lot. Um, Obviously, we're in a time right now where there's a lot of great casters, and they definitely get their flowers nowadays, like Launder, Scrawny, Sponge, Machine, Moses, Dinko, Exner, Phi. At least in our
Harry and
scene,
Hugo.
those two, Harry and Hugo. Dude, I love Harry and Hugo. They're silly. But no, like it's kind of the unsung part of the whole putting on a show of Counter Strike, and I always thought it was fun, and I wanted to be a part of that. So yeah, that was the main reason why I fully like had the idea behind getting into it.
That's really sick, honestly. I mean, that's a huge inspiration, obviously, to me as well as the existing talent and seeing people have a passion for this and drive it into something further, and the desire to make something much more serious out of the scene and drive respect towards Counter Strike, I think is a big deal. And that's Sponge is a sick inspiration, and I totally agree with you there. It's cool to see those extended journeys going forward. But let's take your first step then. So you do you remember what you would consider your first cast to be? Like, even if it was unstreamed, unwhatever,
Oh
your first
man,
time, even if it was you just like a video you recorded for yourself of a game that
yeah.
already happened.
So my first ever time casting, there I have a friend that I've known for many a years. We played together. He's just a lot better than me. His name is Stormy. He currently plays for Lycus Empire, but which I do currently cast. So bit of a circle moment there. But he was on a team in like 2016, 17. and I think they were in Maine at the time, and he was like, "Oh man, my friends want to watch," and like I was like, "Dude, I'll cast it. I'll have some fun with it." And it was probably the worst thing I've ever done in my life. I think I didn't even like know how to speak at that point, and it was fun, but like it was a nuke game, and I tried so hard, and I probably did so bad. You know what? And there's some names on that team that I don't know if you're familiar with Valorant at all, but Koala Noob.
I am not a huge Valorant guy, but list him, man.
Koala Noob is I believe he's playing for Navi now, but he's like
Ooh.
a tier 1 professional Valorant player. He's been to all those
Well,
big
Navi's no
tournaments,
slouch of
whatever
an
they're
org,
called.
no matter the game.
Yeah, his coach is Angel, like the old Hellraisers player, but
Right, right.
he was on that team too. I can't remember the name of the team for the life of me, but yeah, it was like that was my moment where I first tried it, and I was like, I thought it was so good at the time. I watched it again like 2 years ago, and I was like, dude, I have to hide this forever. Twitch
Burn
VOD
it.
is gone. You
Burn it.
can't find it. No, but yeah, that was like my first step, and I since then I fell in love with it. I wasn't, I didn't want to pursue it at the time, but it was always something I thought was so much fun.
And did you, from the beginning, did you pursue it out of passion in terms of you just started doing it and figured it out along the way? Or were you someone who studied the professional broadcasts for a while and sort of came into it with a meta, I guess, almost understanding of the art of casting? Or what do you, if that does that make sense?
Y- Yeah, it does make sense. So like that time in the past, well, like the 2016, 17, whatever, I that was all just me having fun, Like I wouldn't consider that actual like experience casting. That was all just for fun. And then once COVID came around, I dropped out of CS basically completely. I started college,
You
and all
grew
that
up.
stuff. Yeah, grow up is a strong way to put it, but
You got decommissioned
then
from the KND.
yeah, but at that point, like I stopped, and then might be getting a little off track, but I started playing in ESEA Open again in 3 seasons ago now, I believe. And at that point, I changed my Twitter back to Buckethead because I was like, oh, Buckethead, that's me. Um,
So while
and
we have
then
you on that, I guess,
yeah.
what bucket? Why Buckethead?
Oh, so I got them right next to me. They're a little bit off camera, but this is there's 58 of these popcorn buckets. I don't know if you can see them all.
What?
Um,
Wait, 58 there physically?
yeah, I like okay, they're heavy, and I'm currently waiting to get shoulder surgery, so I can't pick them up because I will get in a lot of trouble. But there's 58, just trust me,
I'll
right
have to
here.
take your word.
And
Hand before
that
God.
was at that was at Barclays Center 2019.
Okay.
I was like 17, a senior in high school at the time, and EG was playing Astralis in the grand finals, and it was a best of 5. And I had never had so much like NA spirit and hope
Yeah,
inside of me. Yeah, I just like if you ever go to like a tier 1 event, the fucking bass that hits you when like a shot's fired, especially if it's an op shot,
Oh yeah.
like it just goes through your body.
Dude, G Stu was
There's
a
no
religious
feeling like it.
experience.
Dude,
They
it
weren't even
is.
there wasn't even a home team and they were the home team.
Yeah, it's just those events are crazy. But map 1, I put a popcorn bucket on my head as like a rally cap because I was like, yeah, this is gonna make them win. Um, and then they won map 2, which was Dust 2. So they were up 2-0 in the series, and I got really excited. So I threw this specific bucket on the ground, and it's all cracked. You can see
Oh
it.
no,
It's
from the
all
passion.
broken. Yeah, because I was so excited. And then
Right.
after I realized I did that, I was like, "Oh, dude, my bucket's broken. I gotta go like ask somebody if I can get another one." So I circled around the entire like perimeter where all the
Yeah,
food
like the
and vending
ring.
stuff is. Yeah, and I got maybe like 4 people to give me a bucket. And then I met back up with my friends, and I was like, "Guys, I didn't even get that many. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work." And then there was some dude about like I'll say 50 seats away that just like stood up and was like, "Hey, I got a bucket. You want it? And then I ran over to him, and then it just started snowballing and getting out of control.
I'm just imagining it like, and a religious experience of I have a bucket, I have a bucket.
Yeah, and then um the map break came on, and it was in the middle of like, because at this point the whole arena realized that there was this kid putting buckets on his head. So every time they would put a new one on, like the whole crowd would be like, "Yeah!" And it was so distracting that the people at the analyst desk, it was Stunna, Sponge, and nothing, and they just like gave in and started talking about the buckets, and then they brought me down to the floor to do like the DHL thing,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, I mean it just really got out of hand, and for like 2 months, I felt like a little micro celebrity. It was so
That
cool
was your
because like,
that was your 15 minutes.
yeah, dude, I'd go in a CS server and guys would be like, "Oh my god, you're the dude from the Barclays Center."
Yeah.
And then Nothing rated one of my Twitch streams back when I was playing in like IM or main.
Wow,
Um, yeah, and that was crazy. He rated me with like, it was like 300 viewers, and like people were subbing and donating to me.
that's crazy.
And yeah, dude, I like fully broke down and cried in the middle of stream.
Dude, someone of
It was
his
a cool
caliber
moment.
doing that, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and he was in my Twitch chat too, and he was just like, "Yeah, dude, fucking, you're really cool, man," and saying all this really nice stuff. So that's the origin of Buckethead
that's
as we know it.
your course was set from then on.
Yeah, it just. Oh yeah, and then back to what I was talking about, the Buckethead
I'm
thing. I
impressed
like,
you remember beyond that.
dude. I told you I was just gonna wing it, but so 20 beginning of 2024, we'll say, because I think that's when it was. I started playing and streaming again, changed my Twitter name to Buckethead, um, and right before Cologne, I think it was like May, a few months out, I retweeted something ESL tweeted, which was like new clothing designs, and I like quote tweeted it. I quote tweeted it. I got this, and I was like, "Oh, this is a really sick hoodie." And an employee of ESL who her name is Pat, amazing lady, the nicest person I've ever met. She DM'd me and she's like, "Are you the dude with the buckets?" And I sent her a really bad
You
picture of
smelled
like
immediately
me
smelled the blood in the
crouched.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, this is the buckets." And then they were like, "Dude, come to Cologne." And I was like, "Oh, shit. Okay." Um, yeah, and then from there, that's how this new, I'll say, era of
Taking
my
it
life in
seriously
Counter
and
Strike, yeah, started. Was that opportunity that I will never forget. That's something like that only happens once, and it was crazy.
that sounds crazy. So what did you do in alone just ongoing and like spirit animal
Um,
dancing hot dog with the bucket head?
so they um they basically were they just wanted to like commemorate some of the fans that did some notable things throughout the years, and it's me and Ozzy King, his name is Danny. He's the guy that does the shoeies at all the events. Um, One of the coolest dudes I ever met. He started like at Sydney, I think like around the same time as me, like 2019, and then he moved out to Europe, and he's been going to Cologne since then. And the two of us were there to do some social media content and other things like that. That I don't know because it's still not released yet. So I don't know what I can say, but I
Oh.
I got to do I got to do social media interviews, just like
Okay.
the Vox Pop where you walk around, you're like,
Okay.
"Oh, hey stranger." Yeah.
Right,
Um
right.
so that was on Instagram and TikTok, and then that was like my purpose. I got to go to the event, sit on the floor, which was
Didn't even give you
crazy.
a
I sat on the floor seats. There we go. Um, but the best part for me about that was I got the chance to be in the same hotel as the players and talent.
Oh,
So
right, hotel bar.
yeah. Oh yeah, of course. But I got to meet a lot of really cool people. Sponge, who, as I mentioned before, is my inspiration. Uh, Stunna, the people from HLTV, Harry and Hugo. But the one that had the most impact on me was meeting Darth Mike. He was there doing the stage hosting for the event, or part of the stage hosting. It was mostly OJ, but he recognized me from, the past and the Buckethead thing because he knew I was going to be there. And I sat down with him for a long time and I was telling him, like, yeah, man, my dream is to work in Counter-Strike. Like, I don't know exactly what I'd want to do, maybe casting or like stage work, but that's really like the one thing I've always secretly, like, deep down wanted to pursue. And he was like, dude, why don't you just hit up Fragadelphia? He gave me the name of Sasquatch and Ches Puff, who were the two head honchos there. And he was like, yeah, send these guys a message. Tell them that you're interested in casting and say that I recommended. So I did that. And then from there, I got to work at Fragadelphia at the Tap Center in October of 2024. And that was probably not probably, that is my first like toe dip into casting at a level that isn't just me sitting in my
That's your first
room.
official event. So
Yeah. That was the first time I ever did it and it had some real merit behind it.
were you proud of the work that you did during that event?
At Frag?
Yeah.
Um so yeah,
Is that a mean
honestly,
question?
no, 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 no. It's a completely just question. The thing is, Fragadelphia is me and All In Gaming, who is like my casting brother. We did every single game except for one map, on all 3 of the days of Fragadelphia. So it was like probably collectively 36 hours of casting in 3 days. Um, and that, first of all, it kind of sucked. I was tired. Like it was
Right.
draining, but
No, being
the
on.
amount that yeah, the amount that I learned and gained from like just grinding through that is so surreal. Like I went in day one knowing how to talk and talk about the game because at that point I did start to study a little bit. But putting that in practice is a lot harder than
Right.
it
Right.
sounds. And then the difference from day one of Frag and day three of Frag is incredible. And throughout that whole time, I had people that are very infamous in the local NA scene, like the guys over at Revel, Exner, Phi, Darth Mike was there as well, and they all gave me a lot of credit for the work I did. And I think at that point, like at the end of that weekend, that's when I was like, maybe this is something that I realistically can pursue.
That's an awesome story to hear. Really sick. I've been definitely taking a ear to the ground at least. Chicago, Frag Miami or Frag Chicago would definitely be my next big dream because I would definitely go to those because that's easy access for me. But so definitely, obviously, being a long term fan opens you up to having the skill set a little bit easier than the average bear, let's say. But when you were finally putting your, casting into practice at that first frag or beyond that first frag, would you say that you position yourself as more of a hype caster, a color caster? How would you say you define yourself, like stylistically? It's I guess that's a very big self-critical thing, and it's a very big
Yeah.
advertising thing. But who do your inspirations that you look when styling yourself as a caster, and how do you style yourself as a caster?
So for me, I think the ideal casting duo right now, just in terms of how they work off of each other with that like shoutcast and color commentary perspective, is Scrawny and Launders. Um, I'm still very I'm still very young in this scene, so a lot of the times, like, we don't necessarily say, like, "Oh, you'll do color this game, I'll do play-by-play," or vice versa. We just kind of run it, and everyone has their own time to have plays because we need to still try to build ourselves up. But I really love the work that Scrawny does on play-by-play. I think he is honestly second to none with the way that he's able to bring out emotion and keep everything so focused on what's happening. Um, and also he is such a gift for, like, if he does slip up some words or something, he's immediately able to transition that into something, and I find that so impressive because I know for me, like, the hardest part is when you just have a what is it? I think it's called a Freudian slip
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
where you
yeah.
just can't speak. I That's happened to me once or twice on a cast. But he has such an ability to just somehow work that in and then veer it off so it sounds like it was correct the whole time.
Yeah, no
Like
Eminem rhyming orange and door hinge type stuff.
that. Oh, and yeah, and I mean they also just like talk about the random, like, what was the it was Blast Bounty, the group stages. They had like a whole 5 round period of one game where they talked about launders at a casino
Yeah,
and how
they always carry a
yeah.
narrative pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, no one can get away with the stuff they do.
No,
Like
no,
they just
they have a lot of
talk.
great privileges because they're the premier duo for Blast, or at least they came up
Yeah,
as the premier duo for Blast.
and I mean, all credit to them. Like they have put in so much work. I don't know if you
Oh
watched
yeah,
the little buy-up of Launders that
yeah.
ESL put out, but like, dude, it's such an inspirational story to see stuff like that. Like you can see how people kind of reinvent themselves once they step their feet into the world of Counter-Strike. It's a beautiful thing, and the two of them, if I could live up to the namesake or credibility of any casters, it would be them.
I mean, we all aspire to be scrawny and long,
Yeah.
successful world, and within Counter Strike, and so transitioning that into you as an individual, would you say obviously you talked about being on a play, not a play by play, but on a situational basis with the person you're sharing the cast with, yada yada yada. It's only something I've heard vaguely talked about in the past, but are there? This is going to be super granular. Are there commonly agreed upon systems for when to transition in when your fellow caster online? Do you have like just a Discord channel that you ping each other back and forth in? Because I know that we've seen videos and stuff where casters on LAN will like slap each other's hand or they'll grab each other. Like, how does that's be super granular? But I'm just deathly curious. How does that
Yeah.
work for you guys online?
Uh, I'm gonna be honest.
Is it just
The
feel of the
people
moment
that
also?
Yeah, I was gonna say the people that I've had the pleasure of working with, all of them I would consider good friends as well. So there's kind of just a natural conversation to all of our casts where, like, especially I'll give another shout out to Big D, who does a lot of the casting for I think he's doing Villainous right now, and he's done some work with Impact, and he's a great guy. And with me and him, like, I'll talk and then I'll stop talking and then he'll talk and stop talking and we just go like that because I think at the root of it, that's when casting is at its best, when you can kind of relate and feel like you're a part of a conversation more so than just listening to um someone talk about a game. So yeah, just all vibes. On land
That's
though, I
yeah,
will
no, it's
say
about the
I have
repertoire.
like I the first day at Frag in Philly, I was doing first ever time I ever did a cast with 3 people, because I've done
Ooh.
a cast with 2 people in the past, just like joking around with my friends, but it was me, All In Gaming, and Why Not. And I took a second to realize how it worked with
Mm.
the vibe of it, and and Why Not kept like giving me some like good thigh slaps to be like, dude, can you talk please? And yeah, so on land it's definitely you definitely get a little bit more into it, and you're like trying to feed
Mhm.
into each other with that way, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Dude,
Very.
there's been plenty of times, or like we have those like headsets that you always see on cast where they have
Yeah,
the little
yeah, yeah.
flip mics that mute, and it'll be the best like when you're trying to cast and someone will flip up their mic and just be like, "Dude, can you like can you go now, please?" And it's like, "Oh, my bad."
Oh, that's great. So now that you've signed that contract and now that you're taking this step into the next journey of your Counter Strike career, what would you say is the most, what are your goals for the next part of this career? You know, you've started to define yourself, you've gotten your first official contract, you're going to be going in a more official manner to more events, obviously. And what are your goals for, let's just call it year 2, year 3 of serious Buckethead casting?
Right. I do wanna say, first, I think this is kind of like a I still think I have a long way to go, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yeah, it's the
I
pursuit of perfection. Yada yada.
yeah, like, it's by no means would I consider myself a professional, and I think that's just because of, like, the way I think about it more so, because, we even talked about this where you're like, "Well,
Yeah.
you know, you
Yeah,
do get paid to cast
yeah,
now,"
if we
and it's
wanted to be
like
really semantical about it, you are a
yeah.
contracted caster
Yeah,
by
so I just wanna make
organization.
sure I
No,
have a hard time admitting
no, everyone does.
to
That's
my
success, man, and that's something you should both be proud of. But it's also important to remain humble and yada and all the philosophical crap we were.
but, yeah, I mean, so for me, I still my focus is gonna be grassroots NA Counter-Strike still. Like, obviously, I wanna continue to build and try to work these international events, but I don't for the next 2 or 3 years, I want to build up NA as much as possible. And, you know, there's a lot of different things going on. There's Challenger League that's always happening. CCT, hopefully is gonna get its ranking reapproved after
Hopefully they get their shit together.
yeah, after they fix all of their problems that you know, but hopefully that will still be going on, and, Fragadelphia, as always, Laundersland is a goal of mine that I wanna try to work at. I wanna build up NA Counter-Strike as much as I try to build my own name up.
Mhm.
Without without Counter-Strike, you know, it's such an important part of my life. I started playing back in Source. I saw my cousin play Scouts and Knives, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And then, like, you know, CS:GO comes out, you see the NIP run to the finals, you see Envy finally and Kenny S win their majors. Like, there's so many moments in my life that Counter-Strike built and is ingrained in me that the least that I could do is try to build that and maybe make those type of moments for somebody in NA. You know, even though I'm not going to say that a Fragadelphia is the same as Cologne, but to the people that are participating in it, it's so surreal and you know the pressure is on even in those smaller events, and to just try to build those moments up is going to build everything up around it. So that's what my goal is going to be.
I think that's an incredibly noble goal, and I also think it's worth noting that thing, but it's incredibly worth noting that it doesn't particularly matter the scale of it in terms of that,
Yeah.
but we can do things such as just providing that community. Because to me, Counter-Strike was something that I enjoyed by myself for many years, because no one that I knew in real life cared about Counter-Strike. And so going to an event, being around people that you can casually discuss it with, is such a blessing in and of itself. And to help facilitate that at a lower level, events like people like, oh, the guys over at Fragadelphia are fantastic for doing so. And that's something I can completely agree with you on. I think is an important thing for us to help do, especially in the wake of successes like, for what it's worth and for all the criticism that we get as a region, we have M80, we have Wildcard, we have Complexity. I count the Liquid guys as being European, but there's still technically some NA there. There's, Malbs over in G2. We are in a bit of an upswing again for the region,
Yeah.
and to do stuff to facilitate or support that, I think should be our number one goal, because while we have this momentum, we have to sustain it.
Yeah, no. And honestly, like it's a bit out of my wheelhouse, obviously at the time, but like I want to I think the most important thing to me and what I want to try to do with my career is build Counter-Strike just as much as I can. Like over in Asia, and you see what the Mongols are doing.
Mhm.
That's like our 2018 Cloud9. You know,
Mhm.
although they haven't hit the peak of winning a major, like they're building up such a good community in Asian Counter Strike and Oceanic Counter Strike. Like if I could do stuff there too, like that would be so sick. I want to just make people I want to give people the experience of seeing Counter Strike. If they don't like it, cool, whatever. It was giving them a try, but there's going to be those people that have just never had the chance to experience it. And once they do experience it for the first time, they'll get addicted and they'll want to keep building, and then they can maybe go on to be a caster, they can go on to be a pro player. That's really like if I have one goal for whatever comes after this, it's going to be that. Just giving the people the chance to discover Counter-Strike and hopefully want to do everything they can the same way I do.
That's a beautiful sentiment, man. So now, absolutely huffing all the copium in the world. What's the big dream? What's the big, I'm standing, swinging my shirt, Alexi B style on the
Yeah.
desk, major finals, casting. Like, what's the dream?
I mean, dude, the dream would obviously be to like, one day work a major
Hmm.
or one of those big four events. There's the two
Yeah,
majors, there's Cato,
prestige
there's Columbus.
events, major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be like the big dream. I will say that I do have I'm in a very fortunate spot because of the whole Buckethead thing, and being able to work that into building a career. I've made a lot of really good and important connections that even if I'm not doing it in a commentary stance, like I I want to branch out and work in, one of those bigger tournament organizers. So that would be like the dream isn't necessarily to make it casting. The
Hmm.
dream is to make it in esports. And obviously casting is the number one choice or like analyst work, stuff like that. But I want to be able to just build this, and if I could even work a cologne, I'll be an admin. I don't care. That would be the Super Bowl for me. That would be
Hmm.
the biggest thing I could ever wish for.
Right. So on that note, you can find him at Buckethead, CS. His emails and everything are in his link trees and yada yada yada. And check him out for work. But beyond that, so outlining your career, you're just motivated as a lifelong fan. You
Yeah.
have this, spotlight God has shined down and chosen upon you. You will receive all the figgy pudding, Buckethead.
Yeah, dude.
Buckethead moment where you can then turn that into, you go to more events, you turn that into talking to Darth Mike, into working at Fragadelphia, into working more minor events throughout the past year after COVID, and then now you've signed your big contract and it's into 2025 with Buckethead Casting. And that's how you went from about zero to a professionally contracted. Is there any big beats that you think I'm missing?
Um, I don't know, man. It's weird to be in the spot that I'm in. I'm very
Mhm.
grateful for LCA giving me the opportunity to work with them, and I do think that this is going to be a first step to something that I can really be proud of and say I did. Um, and yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see where it goes. This is the beginning of something beautiful, hopefully.
Hell yeah, man! I'll ride those coattails the whole way. But
I'll let you come in. Don't worry.
hey, yeah, you hear that, Mister Doorman? He says I can come in.
You can be like my groupie, man.
I
You'd be
know
like, hey, who's with
him.
me?
Who do you know here? I know him somewhat.
But yeah, I mean, like, oh, you know what? I do want to say another goal is to I want to work a lot more of the like there's been a resurgence of cash cups in
Mhm.
NA, which is such a important groundwork to building competitive nature, because if we have these, like, even if they're monthly cash cups that are for $1,000, that's going to drive so much more competition
Oh yeah.
than we've had in the past few years since they've been gone. Like, I got to work the Chicken Coop Cash Cup
Mhm.
and OSS League, which is the off-season shenanigans league. Stuff like that is honestly my favorite stuff to work because that's where you get the really like hardcore
Yeah, because
NA tier 2
there's
fan,
no
you
glitz
know?
and glam. It's the
No,
just
it's just dirty, straight up NA Counter-Strike, and like that's honestly what I want to try to build. If I could
mhm.
somehow make that my own,
That'd be
I have
sick.
no money
No,
or any.
I had a fraternity brother who was the same way. Who,
Yeah.
you know, he was the authority. He was our like college radio guy on
Oh,
sports for a while, and you could ask him any player. Oh yeah, well he played on this indoor football team for 2 years because he came out of this high school because he came out of blah blah, worked under this coach, and just knows it all. Just knows it
yeah.
all.
You're just like, why do
And I'd
you
be
even
like,
know that?
right, but no, that's how I feel about Counter Strike. It's like, oh yeah, well
Yeah,
he was on this team with this coach. And I'm like, I should do something with that. I should do
dude.
I'd love to do that for like. Let's make
Yeah,
NA even better. Let's make you like the grassroots support of NA. I think is a huge goal, especially with the momentum we've gained, and it's great to have people excited about it.
yeah, man.
Especially shout out to
And
the revival series from Jason Lake.
oh yeah, and Mythic working with
Yeah,
that too. Like
Mythic.
that's
Yep.
gigantic. That was honestly the first step to try to get some of these cash cups back in NA. So like shout out to them. Obviously, Fragadelphia, Mustache Masters as well. All those people are what build us up, and it's not only just for me. Like the NA scene is just going to keep getting better and better as there's more support for this stuff, and that's what I'm most excited for.
Hell yeah, man! Thanks for sitting down to walk me through your casting journey today.
Yeah, dude. And real quick plug: if you
Cool.
guys need a caster, uh, Buckethead, do it. Let's go. I'm your guy. And follow me on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and all that fun stuff, so you could see me rant about useless stuff.
Links in the description.
Hey, appreciate that.
Always. It's just common courtesy. What?
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm gunning for you. I'll pass you in subscribers eventually.
dude. I think I'm like 50 subscribers on YouTube.
You
I'd
haven't
say like
uploaded in like 6 months.
no, no. My main thing that I like to I just really like Twitter. So I just like grind on Twitter and try to build that platform, and I realize that yeah, I should probably build my YouTube and my Twitch to like get more credibility, but Twitter's so much fun because I could just say random shit about CS and there'll be some people that are like, "Yeah, he's right." And
Yeah.
that's the type of like motivation I need.
No, I totally get it, man. I totally get it. Uh, but either way, we've been yapping for a while, so we're gonna wrap for now. But I have been CJ. Thank you very much, Buckethead.
Of course,
And
thank you.
let's have a good night, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.